Welcome, bienvenue. This is the second episode of our Journey to the East African Professionals webinar series, where we bring together young African professionals who have studied in China or other countries in the East and are back in their home countries to share their stories, especially navigating their professional lives back in their home. Without wasting much time, we're going to go straight into the questions and to this discussion. Welcome. I'm joined by my co-hosts, Florentine and Sarah. Hi, Flori. I think you're muted.
Hi, Pam, and bienvenue. Hello, Pam. I hope you're both doing well.
Really well. So bienvenue, welcome to our second episode. Like I mentioned earlier on, you're our first Rwandan and our first person to join who have studied outside of China. So we're really excited to hear you share your perspective and your experience studying in Singapore and how that has um, affected your professional life back home in Rwanda. So we're going to start off with your educational background. Could you let us know what you studied and where you studied?
Thank you, Pamela. First of all, thank you for having me here. It's a very good platform that brings change in our society. The Africans, especially who go to study abroad, they're not sure they should come here back home and make the impact that they've dreamed of. When we pursue studies, mostly we want to make the impact, of course. So mostly it becomes difficult, but I'm glad that there's this channel which helps our fellow Africans to bring back their knowledge up here in our country. So it's very good that they can hear these testimonies and they can do better. So myself, I'm Bienvenu Kaboba, and I'm a Rwandan, and I did my master's degree in Singapore in the university. It's called Nanyang Technological University. So I studied smart manufacturing in the School of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering. So my specialization is in manufacturing. Actually, when you say smart manufacturing, we mean these technologies that we call Industrial 4.0 technologies. Like we currently have four evolutions of industry, and the fourth one, so that's what we've been studying. And the fifth is coming, that's what the scientist says, it's coming few days, few years to come. But the technologies that we are using right now is I 4.0. So that was my specialization. That's me. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for that context and that background of your education. So you mentioned you studied at Nanyang Technological University. Why Nanyang Technological University? Why Singapore?
Why Singapore? That's a very good question. Why Singapore is a very developed country in the east, and I would say it's kind of the central of every business that's being done in the I would say the East Asia or the Middle East Asia, because everything that goes there, mostly they pass on the port of Singapore. So it becomes a hub of many innovations, many technologies which are there. So it became one of my inspiration or my motivation to go there and study. I would say, but the first thing that made us go was not our will, but it was through the MOU of the government of Rwanda with Nanyang Technological University. So they wanted students from Rwanda to go there and bring the experience here in Kigali, because Rwanda is also revolutionizing especially the industrial sector. So they wanted to take some people to go there and learn from Singapore. Mostly here we have a slogan in Rwanda that everything we are going to become a Singapore of Africa. That's the meaning. That's what they say mostly. So I would say that was the push, and eventually I found myself fit for that, because they needed students who have background in mechanical engineering, and I had one. I had a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and I was really, really eager and have curiosity to see what's there in Singapore, the Singapore that we hear every day. What's there? Let me go and see what is there. And luckily, also, yeah, I was able to specify that. I went there, and the university by itself is very known. In the QS ranking, NTU, or Nanyang Technological University, it is ranked, it ranked between 15 to 10, or sometimes go into the tops of the QS ranking. So which means it's the best university on the globe. So that was also my motivation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You mentioned that you went to Singapore due to an MOU between the government of Rwanda and Nanyang Technological University. And earlier on in our conversations, you mentioned that you were a cohort of 10. So I assume this was a selective process. What was the selection process like before you got picked or you all got selected to go to Nanyang Technological?
Okay, the screening was kind of difficult because we were full of many talented students, many people with high skills, high marks, because also that was among the considerations or the criteria, the marks that you've graduated with, but also the impact, the students whom bring the impact inside the community. So on my side, in my campus, I was one of the, I would say one of the Guilty Council. The Guilty Council is these students who help others to connect with the management, maybe bring the problems and other, I would say, other concerns which are in the students and bring them to the management so that they can do something about it. So that was also one of the thing that created a way for me to be selected, but also we had also to apply on the platform of NTU, do the same application as others do. And in that pool of many students, I remember we were like almost 60 people in the pool from Rwanda, all from Rwanda. So they had to pick in smart manufacturing, they had to pick four students. In AI, they had to pick 3 students, and in material science, 1 student, in power engineering, 1 student, and other, which is called computer and automation, also 1 student. So we made a group of 10 people, but different programs. Yeah.
Okay. Of all the programs you mentioned, it looks like you're all in engineering or some sort of tech program. Was that deliberate?
Correct.
Was that intentional? Did the course you study or the field that
Yeah.
you were in important in your selection to go to the university?
Like I said before, the intention of the government was to bring this expertise in the country because we don't have so many people who are in those sectors here in Rwanda. So they wanted to maybe create that kind of intellectuals who are there and specialize in particular things. For example, AI is now taking over. So as Rwanda, we can't lag behind other countries. We also need to be on the front. So those people that we had in program AI, they're here, they're contributing, and me and my other fellows whom were in smart manufacturing, we also brought that expertise. So I would say it was kind of the vision related to the vision of the country, where we want to take our country within these few years. We have what we call when the government is established, they have this particular mission and vision that they're going to take the country in. So I would say we were filling we were fitting their desires where they want these people to come and take initiatives in. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would say is a strategic partnership, and it's great to see Rwanda taking the lead in something like that, where you look at your nation, you
Yeah.
find the gaps that exist, and then you send students to study or learn the knowledge and skills needed to fill those gaps. to do that when they come back home. I think it's really great because for most of our conversations, for some of the conversations we've had, one of the problems that we've always had with people that go to China to study is that they come back home and they're unemployed because there's a misalignment between what they studied and the job market, right? So
Yes.
sometimes they find themselves unemployed.
If I'm not interrupting you, like it's very good to mention that all these countries that we've been there to study, they also grow up in that certain scenario. Like Singapore, it did use the same how they say strategy. They could send, Singapore it developed in few years ago. That's when their development boosted, and that's when we started to hear Singapore. But one of the strategies they use is that they send students abroad, let's say in the US or in the Western countries to study, and then they come back with that kind of knowledge and they build their system, education system and other systems, so they get this development that we see today. So I would say we are trying to do the same here in Kigali. And as a matter of fact, the second cohort is there right now. It's starting the academics, and there is it's maybe I'm not sure if it's 5 to 6 people now going also in the same university at Singapore. Yes.
That's really interesting. That's a great initiative. So, before Singapore, right? What is the perception of people studying in Asia generally in Rwanda? Because I know there's a lot of people, I mean, in conversations, the people who had
Yeah.
been to China didn't see
Like
China as their first choice, right? The West is always and has always been people's first choice moving from the continent to study. So, and there's now like a general shift in perception of how people perceive education in Asia, in China, or in other countries in Asia. But what was the perception like in Singapore, in Rwanda, of studying in Asia? And do you think if it was if the perception was quite low, do you think that there's been a shift? Is people are more welcoming of studying in Asia?
here in Rwanda, people are very welcoming. The people who study in Asia, you wouldn't say it's on the same level like these people who study in the West. It's kind of different treatment. But yes, we do use people here who studied in Asia, especially let's say China. But there's this thing that I'm not sure where it came from. I'm not sure about it, but they say that uh, people who go there mostly they go in the universities which are not on this. I would say the level that is providing a good education that we might want here in Rwanda, so or here in Africa. So that's where the criticism came from. But for the people who study on the big universities, let's say the Beijing Institute of Technology or these other universities, when they come, they're actually the one who is doing great things in our industries. Let's say in Rwanda Space Agents, we do have people who studied mostly in Japan and in those technical university in China. So I would say we do have those people, and here they work. They get something to do, and their degrees they are very welcomed here in our country. Yeah.
Okay. And did you experience any language barrier in your study or in like, living in Singapore? Because that has been the case of some
Yeah.
people that lived in China. What was it like with the language?
Okay. On the language, Singapore, the English is official language because they have other languages like Chinese. The Mandarin is also the majority speak Mandarin, and the Tamil from the Indian, and the Malay. Malay is the people from Malaysia. So uh, basically, that's the three tribes or three major people that we can find in Singapore, and they all meet on the English, but this English is kind of different in the accent. We call it Singlish. So their accent is very different from what we had before, and it was very hard for us to catch up. But we managed. We managed within 1 month, 2 months. When you're there, you get to experience it, and now you understand it. The good thing is that we're in the right things. It's the same English that we use, but when they speak, you try your best to catch up. So I would also say that also the accent was hard to get, but we eventually catched up, and yeah, we kept the pace. Now I can hear a Singaporean saying, and yeah, it's very good. Yeah.
Okay. 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 So you did how long was your master's?
My
How long was
master's,
the master's program?
the master's program is usually 4 semesters, but you're allowed to do it because it's usually the courses that you need to take. If you want to take a coursework and a dissertation, you should do 8 courses plus dissertation. But if you want, you can also do 10 courses, excluding the dissertation. So all those courses, you can take them within 4 semesters maximum, or 3 semesters, or 2 semesters minimum. So for us, because we were sent by the government, and also I would say financial way, you could also consider that bringing 10 people there in the country like Singapore, which is the costs are quite high, the accommodations, expenses, like living allowances. So we were taught to take the courses in few semesters, which are two. So my master's took 2 semesters to finish. I did a coursework, then a dissertation. So it took me like 1 year and exceeding months because of the dissertation I had to finalize. But mostly it's 1 year and above. Yeah.
Okay. You just you mentioned earlier that it was a government sponsored education,
Yeah,
right? It was a
correct.
government sponsored training. So after you were done, I assume that there was no consideration of maybe staying on in Singapore to do something else. It was the path that's always been study and come back to Rwanda. There was no alternative consideration for you at all.
Yeah. Our program was very straightforward. Go there, study, then bring back the knowledge. We were sent there, so it wasn't our choice to make to stay, but we didn't have any, I would say, any, how can I say it? Maybe a bound, something that says that government needs to have us here. I mean, if we could have managed to get the internships, maybe, or the jobs in the industries too, could also have been better, because experiencing also how the industry is working is another knowledge to bring back home. So I wouldn't say they could have been strict to us, but it was obvious that they need us to come back in the country.
Okay. So because the government needed you to come and there was a clear path, does that mean that coming back to Rwanda, there was like you knew straight away what employment you're gonna get? Was there no struggle to find something at all? Did you know exactly what you were coming to do in Rwanda? Was something lined up for you?
I can't say that we had this particular job which was ready for us, but we could see that the government officials, especially those who were in the education sector, they were for us. They wanted to try to see where everyone can fit. So it took months and months. It was a very long process, but eventually they got something for us. I would say all the 10 people, the country managed to get which position to take them. So hello,
Hello, yeah, I can hear you.
you can hear me. Okay. So
Yeah,
that was the thing, and we came back because we were in the time of uh, elections here in Rwanda, elections were taking place, and we kind of, the government, it was reluctant to see where they can put people. So at that time, I was joining the industry which I was working with before I went to Singapore. But later on, they tried to find something for us that fits with what we went to study. Yes.
Okay. And this was the case for all 10 of you that went, you fit into like the industries that you went to study for.
Yes, most of us, they joined the industries that went to study with, except the people whom, for example, you can go to study their material science, and maybe the government wants you into this particular sector, let's say education, and you, in your mind, you feel like you want to be more in the industry. So you're not ready for academy. So most of those people, they tried to do also something else, which the government uh, supported also, because it's at the end of the day, it's you who's going to do the job, and it's up to you to choose which career path you want. Nobody can stand on your way and say, "Hey, we paid for you, then we want you here." That was not the case. So they try to find opportunities for us. So if you want, you could join, but if you don't, if you have something else to do or in mind, yeah, it's also good, okay with them. So what they wanted is to have these particular people with this kind of talents and specialization that they hold, just in case the government wants, they can use you, they can try to come up to you and say, hey, we see you fit in this particular sector or in this particular project that you want to take on. Would you mind if you become part of it? So mostly that's how it's being done here in Uganda.
Okay. And do you think that your study in Singapore has been useful to you in your job?
Yes, it was very useful because like I said before, my background is mechanical engineering. So I wanted to learn more about automations, how things are automated, these industrial 4.0 technologies that we're speaking of. Let's say the 3D printers, let's say the CNC machines, let's say the PLCs, all these technologies that are now trying to bring the world very smaller to using, let's say, zero impairing in the industry. Actually, the essence is to minimize the human operations in the industries, and let's bring the technologies which can automate and hence improve the productivity, improve the efficiency of the industry. So learning that from Singapore, the country which has all those hubs, uh, was very, like I would say, it inspired me and it empowered me at the same time to become that particular engineer who is reliable in my country, who can bring those technologies, those innovations here in my country and also in Africa, let's say, at the upper scale.
Yeah. And was your cohort the first cohort of Rwandans to have studied at Nanyang? Or before you, there were other people from Rwanda that had studied? And do you think that there's always also been an influence in the generation of interest of people from Rwanda that would want to go to Nanyang following that?
Sorry, come again,
Yeah,
please.
sorry,
Like the
I was
internet
asking.
kind of,
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
asking
yeah.
if there was were there people from Rwanda that had studied in Singapore before your cohort? And the second question is, do you see a new interest or generation of interest from people in Rwanda that would want to follow suit to go study at Nanyang or like generally in Singapore?
Yes, I would say yes. The first question you asked about being the pioneers there in NTU. Yes, we were the pioneers on this MOU of Rwanda and NTU, but there are other Rwandese, I'll say Rwandans, but I only know one who did his PhD in NTU, and that particular person holds now a nationality of US. So basically, he was from US, but he's a Rwandan by, I would say by blood. He's from Rwanda, but he used to study in MIT, his master's degree, and he came back to do a PhD in NTU. So we actually had the chance to speak to him. I would say he's only Rwandan that I knew joined NTU before us. But beside that, we are the pioneers. And uh, uh, asking about if it made the impact of the students be more interested in studying in Singapore. Yes, it boosted the number of people whom are now considering going that region, because usually people here in Rwanda and I would say the Africa at all, they all want to go in the Western. So they know Western provide this kind particular education, but having our experience and having our testimonies in because we gave few seminars and we participated in few webinars like this, which were prepared by NTU to speak to the Rwandan community. So most of the students were much more interested, and they are starting now to apply for many scholarships, including this particular one, and again other in scholarship which are there in Singapore. For example, there is this scholarship called Singer. I'm not sure if you know it. It's on the graduate scale, so PhDs and master's degree. So many people now are applying because of Singers coming there with flying colors, I'll say.
Oh,
Back to you,
Bienvenu,
Pamela.
yeah, it's really nice
Yeah.
to hear you share your story and also your experience in Singapore. It's I really love the discovery that we've made through our interaction with you, that Rwanda was very intentional in sending you out there to go and learn something that you felt could benefit the country. And I think this is one case of a different case of technology transfer, which we see happening in the country, because for most of the time we import the knowledge. We bring in experts from either the east or the west, and then they come do the work and they go away. And yet we don't have the knowledge staying within the country. So I find this as a very interesting case of technology transfer that you had to do. So would you say you and your colleagues are doing very well now since you returned?
Yes, we're doing better. We're doing better. Everyone is settled. Yeah, we are trying to build our careers here in our country, and hopefully the impact will also grow up and impact the African whole. That's our target. So let's start here in Rwanda and do much more better. And if uh, if the resources become available, we can also impact the region and later on our continent. Yeah, that's the vision, the
That's
purpose.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I'm really excited for you guys. Can you tell us a bit about
Thank
your
you very much.
course? You mentioned smart technology and you had a background in mechanical engineering. I think for me, it's a title that is a bit new, and I'm sure some of our listeners too are very new to this area.
Yeah.
So, if you can tell us about smart manufacturing, what smart manufacturing is about, what goes into it, how relevant is it to our economy, especially in Africa?
Yes. So, smart manufacturing. Actually, manufacturing is all about industries. Yeah, that's where we do manufacturing. So, manufacturing usually it's done in the way it started, what we call industrial 1.0. That's when we used steam engines to do things, particular things, and most of the work was job shop. You come and manufacture a particular thing, then you go. It could take so many hours to do that particular job. And later on, we came with Industrial 2.0, which was all about mass production. Let's now produce so many things at the same time, which can increase or boost the productivity. And later on, it came there the automation, which is Industrial 3.0. So automation now it comes in the industries where you can see this particular region has some sensors and actuators to do particular automation. Now reduce the human intervention, less humans, but also they're there in the industry. So that is Industrial 3.0. Now, speaking of Industrial 4.0, is trying now our best to minimize the human intervention, maybe at, I would say, 0.0% human working in the industry. So we want everything to be
I'm
autonomous.
losing you.
You're losing me, sorry. So I meant we bring now the technologies to help us reduce completely the human intervention there. Let's make everything autonomous. And why can we want that? We would want that because the production is always being low when we include humans. You know, human can have these particular reasons not to be more productive. For example, they can get sick. For example, they can do shift hours. They can so including humans in the production. It usually takes other times, and the machines are yet there always to do the job 24 to 24. And what you need to do is just to prepare to schedule maintenance, schedule preventive maintenance or schedule a corrective maintenance, and the machine will give you a productivity that you want. So this is the idea of smart manufacturing. When we say smart manufacturing, we are bringing AI, we are bringing IoT, we are bringing robotics, we're bringing automation all together to make this particular industry, which is now more efficient and more productive in bringing out a larger volume of output, and also less human errors involved in the production, because human can lose precisions, human can lose particular uh, quality aspect that we would want from the products. So having these smart technologies is bringing the world to closer to that perfection in manufacturing. So simply saying that's smart manufacturing. Hope I explained well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice. I'm very certain that people who are listening would start thinking, I want to venture into smart manufacturing. How have
Thank you
you seen
very much.
this influencing the economy of your country? And do you think that it is an aspect or it's an area that could influence Africa as a whole?
Very correct, because Rwanda, as an example, and Africa in whole, we are now trying to build our industrial sector. Like we want to build everything through industrialization, right? So we want our industries to be more productive. If let's say we have so many raw materials, for example, these agro-based industries, not mentioning also the mineral sector. We do have so many materials, but we lack the industries to process those raw materials. So having these technologies, having this particular sector coming with so many innovations like those ones I was saying, it's going to bring much production and much profit back to the economy for the country, and also the people will get much. I would say more new ways of doing things. You know, we are relying on this industrial 3.0 here in Kigali. That's what we have right now, and I assume most of the countries in Africa, that's where we go max. But let's shift. Let's go. We tap higher. We tap into the I 4.0. It's going to bring the best of the best here in Africa, because we do have raw materials, but we lack where to produce them. It's a pity, and yeah, let's change that. That's the idea.
Wonderful. I like your thoughts that we should change that. So, what advice would you
Yeah.
have? What advice do you have for the young Africans, maybe those who are considering a career path? Maybe there's somebody out there who isn't so sure which aspects of um, education that they need to pursue. What kind of advice do you have for them? And also for those who are actually studying abroad and are contemplating whether they should come back home to Africa to do something. What are your thoughts about that?
First of all, I'm proud of the mentality that we are having as Africans nowadays. You can see young people more engaged in these AI things. Like we are having the best of the best software developers, the best of the best uh, coders, these people who are into this machine learning, data analytics. So
Mm,
I would say I'm proud and keep that mindset, keep that mentality because that's where we're going to head as it's where the world is heading. So having these young kids and these young people joining particular fields is something good. And yet we could have good software developers, but we don't have good mechanical engineers and good manufacturers. So bringing those impact can be hard. That's what recently I was asking myself, and I saw these people whom did the particular fields that I was mentioning, data analytics, software engineering. Or many of them in Africa, they're doing remote jobs in the US or in other areas, the big
mm,
companies remotely, which means we are not seeing the impact back home. Why? Because the infrastructure, because the hardwares, they are not there yet. So what they're doing is impacting other sides, not ours. Yet they have the
mm,
skills. So
mm,
I would say let's have also other people who are more interested in now the infrastructure way, the hardware part. Let's say the machines, the robotics. We bring those skills. We bring the way we can use our local materials to build those infrastructure, to build those hardware parts. Then we bring the software guys now to do the job here in Africa. So I encourage them to take on these particular fields, go there, they study mechanical engineering, go there, study automation, then you come back. You come back, we look for a way to integrate that knowledge with what we have. Then we shall build something stronger than what we have right now. Thank you.
right. So I'm curious to find out, have you always wanted to do this? Or this is a new field that you discovered and you just got interested in? Is it
Okay.
has it always been your career path?
All right. Let me be honest by answering this question. So my
Mhm.
dreams since I was a kid was to I'm a person who likes very much astronomy, and I'm an astrophile by nature. And I always wanted, if I couldn't get this, I could also be maybe a pilot. So that
Ah,
that was my childhood dream. That was my childhood dream. I could dream myself working in NASA. Yeah, most of the times, but uh, I would say I could have that chance here in Kigali or in Rwanda to have that particular education in, let's say, astrophysics, let's say astronomy. So it was hard for us to get that particular chance to study what we dreamed of. But I had, I would say, a second plan, which was mechanical engineering. I knew studying mechanical engineering was going to fit me well in that particular sector that I always dreamed to work on in aviation. So I knew that in one way or another, taking mechanical engineering is going to get me closer and here in Rwanda to getting closer to my dream. So that's how I started studying. That's why I applied to study mechanical engineering in the first place. And when I was in mechanical engineering, I would say I enjoyed a lot. And I saw that mechanical engineering is so broad and gives you an opportunity to be in more many sectors. Let's say you can be a mechanical engineer, working in industry. You can work in construction. There are also people who work in construction. There are people who work in aeronautics, like I was mentioning. There are people who work in agriculture, like what we call agriculture mechanization. There are so many things you can take through mechanical engineering. So that's the thing I liked about it. And when I was in my third year, that's when I discovered, yeah, let me take this particular aspect of industries because we're going to be needing it in the future here in the country, because that's where our country is heading. We are building so many economic zones which are particularly for industries. So I saw it and I told myself, let me be in this particular position of being a specialist in manufacturing. I'm sure that I'm going to have an impact that I always wanted to impact my country development. So that was the honest answer for you, Valentina.
That's nice. I'm glad you were honest about that. So
Thank you.
having studied in Singapore, what if you had a chance to speak to the African governments, like the
Mm,
people in government, what would
mm.
you say to them, having seen all that you saw, having experienced education in Singapore, and looking at the education we have back home, the kind of systems we have back home? What would you say to the governments in your country, in Africa as a whole?
Yes, I would start by saying that they can do the same to what Rwanda did, having the MOU signed. But I would start by saying, particularly here in Africa, what do we need to do? Maybe to reach that level that Singapore are on, or that those particular countries. So my first thing to say is the discipline. What I saw there is quite different. The discipline there is something different for real, and I think it can be a foundation of everything. Like they are very disciplined and hard workers. Like they know what to do. They have the picture that they want to achieve. Having that in mind, and the people there are disciplined. You can't find people who are like who are against what the government wants. Like they always think in the right way and supporting their government. So I'll say that the change that we want can start from the people first. Then we go on bringing those knowledge that we want to come with and enhance our education, because the education, I still believe, it's the backbone of everything, because having people who knows how to do things better, yeah, eventually we see the results. And but my emphasis is on the discipline of the people in the country. People should be ready for the change. Like we don't hold this mentality of having doing our in our own ways, like collapsions, like uh, I would say people wanting their relatives to be on the job, like every this particular mindset. Let's have one vision, one thing we want to achieve as people, and then let the government drive us in that same way. If the government is also doing better, because also government can
Devin,
be.
I'm losing you.
Oh, sorry. So I was saying, also government can be an issue, but if government is okay, then let the change start from the people. Let people be there to receive the change that we want, because it's going to take us much discipline, much unity, much way of thinking together and wanting this impact in general. So I believe the change that we want can start from people, and then the government start looking for ways to bring this better education in our continent.
Mm.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That is quite interesting. Focusing on the people before we bring in the knowledge. That's really great. Well, I can't let you go without you speaking some Singlish to us. I hope you still speak some
Oh
of it.
man, it's been a year. It's been a year, so
So have
it's
you
hard for me
forgotten
to speak
the
as
language?
English. But
Okay.
yeah, but mostly mostly when they're talking, la comes first, la. So that's the particular thing I catched there. But yeah, the
But
Singlish was
do
very
you
hard
get
for
the
me to.
opportunity? Do you get the opportunity to meet with Singaporeans in Rwanda?
Oh yeah, not a few days, but there is this particular company that's now starting a project here. We have a project here which is called Kigali Innovation City. Uh,
Mhm.
they are they're Singaporeans who are contractors here. So we met. So yeah, that's whom we met particularly, but I never met others. And others are my friends that I have there in Singapore. We
Mhm.
talk every day. So while I was there, I tried to connect, and they are my friends. So those are the people whom we talk every day.
Okay. Well, I was hoping you can speak some Singlish to us so that we know how that sounds like. Well, thank you, Bienvenu. It's been really nice talking to you and having this conversation. Well, I believe, Pam, we can open the floor to those who have joined us if they have any questions so that we can take up the questions.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting to the end of the webinar. So if there are any questions, if anyone has any questions they want to ask Bienvenue, this would be the best time to before we wrap up.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Yes, good day to you all. I don't know if it's afternoon or morning, wherever you are, but hi. My name is Leonard. I didn't really join early, and so I don't know if this was discussed, but one thing I want to ask the fine gentleman who spoke earlier, I didn't quite catch your name, but I see it's Kaboba. Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct. Kabuga.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Kaboba. Yes. So really, really interesting things you discussed. However, it was mainly on mechanical engineering and how you were sent to Singapore by your country to learn mechanical engineering and AI integration into mechanical engineering to the point of 4.0 where there is less human interactions with machinery in production and industry. However, my question is based on the fact that I do not have a background in mechanical engineering, but rather HR and let's say Spanish. Do you think I still have a chance to branch into that aspect, or there's something particularly about that industry, or let's say sector, that I can branch into from my area of expertise?
Oh, so I didn't catch all the expertise you said in HR
Yes, HR in Spanish.
in Spanish. So, which means you working in Spanish, right?
Currently, I work as a reservationist at a hotel, but
Oh,
I do have other skills. Yeah.
okay. So, bringing that into mechanical engineering, maybe I think you can need some trainings about because these are things which are they start from science and goes to the engineering level. So I wouldn't say it will be easy for you, but everything you can learn. That's the mentality, and it just needs you to have this motivation. So once you set your mind to it, yeah, surely you can do that. You can try to learn, have a certain coursework that you can take, then you learn particular skills in mechanical engineering or in automation in general. There are so many courses for automation specifically. Then there you can study and have some few skills that you can build on, and later you become a professional in this particular sector.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. I will follow that advice and see how that goes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Donald.
Hi, John. I think I've allowed your mic and camera now. So if you have a question, you can unmute.
I think he typed the question in the chat. So he's asking in terms of education quality, curriculum relevance, teaching quality, infrastructure, and resources. How would you compare Singapore to Rwanda or Africa as a whole?
Oh,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. This is a very nice question. The quality of education in Singapore is very high. The bar is so high that I think we can't compare to here in Rwanda. Maybe in Africa, I'm not sure, but Africa, we also have these countries which have a very good education. For example, Ghana, for Florentine, right? Ghana, I think the education is much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but speaking of comparing Rwanda to Singapore in education, it's very different. And in my experience, let's say there in Singapore, we could study, we could go in class, and everything that we studied is being recorded, and afterwards it's being sent to us. So, like basically, it's like you entering the second class when you're trying to revise. So this was very helpful to us. Again, I'll say the lab, their labs, their laboratories, and the equipment they had, these cutting edge equipments, like equipments which are there, the 3D printers, everything that is there. And also, one thing which interested me the most was the library, because as a person who is doing uh, research or thesis, maybe you really need materials, you really need to read some papers and some journals, or anything that can help your dissertation, including the database. So uh, accessing all this information, mostly it requires you to pay something or to sign up to. It's not this free. So but here in these universities in Singapore, every material that you can want is very free. You can access it through their systems that they built. So uh, the education is quite high, and I can't forget to mention the world class professors. Their professors, they are world class, and they teach in a very different manner from what we used to study here in Rwanda. So, and it in the first place, it became a very big problem for us to catch up, because it was kind of different from what we've used to have here, and their ways of teaching, their ways of asking, I mean, the assessments. So it was kind of new to us, but I would say much more integrated and much more good than what we have. Once we we catched up, it was very good to learn from them. So I would say Singapore is so developed, but that's the vision of the countries here in Africa, particularly Rwanda. Is also investing in the education system to be. We can't reach the same level in 10 or 5 years here, but we eventually be there in one way or another, especially when we have these talents that we are trying to bring back in Africa. Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you, Bienvenu. That was really great. I would request if you can come back on camera, since you have your internet is a bit stable. I love
All
that you can
right.
put a face to the voice. All right,
Now
we
we
have
can see
Philip.
it. All
Yes, we
right.
can see you very clearly. Yes, we have Philip.
Okay.
I think that is Dr. Philip Bodu answer. Yes,
Mm.
please.
Hi,
Hi,
thanks
Hi.
Philip.
for leading this discussion. I just wanted to understand what the fee structure in Singapore is like compared to other places like Europe and maybe the United States, if you do have an idea. And maybe if you can also later on share contacts so you can perhaps share some good school recommendations.
Oh, my contacts, I'm giving them in the chat. Is it okay, Pamela? Should be okay? Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm giving them right now. Yes. That's my contact. So, and if I got you while you were asking about the infrastructure in Singapore, right? Yes. So,
The
Singapore,
fee structure.
okay, the fee structure to payments.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. My program specifically was almost 40,000 USD, if I'm not mistaken. 40,000, my program. And you can take that in 2 years or in 2 semesters, like I mentioned. So it's your choice. You can take it in few semesters or many semesters, but the structure, the amount is the same. But the expense side is kind of different. Singapore is quite expensive. Let's say in the accommodation sector, the accommodation, they are very expensive, and also uh, getting clothing, everything there is quite expensive. So I would say it's on the same rate to the Western countries, the fee structure and the living cost. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Philip.
All right, thank you, Philip. Any other? Dr. Bodiosa, it's nice to see you because it's been a while. Any other person who
Good
has
to
any
see you
questions?
as
Yeah. Okay, Pam, I'll hand over to you then.
Okay. So, if there are no questions, I would like to thank everybody for joining us in this discussion. It was very interesting having Bienvenu on. Thank you for joining us and sparing your time to be with us to have this conversation. It's always interesting to have a different perspective on studying in another country outside of China. So that was a very nice discussion. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I hope that you join us in our next episode soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Pamela. See you.
Bye.
Bye, bienvenue.
Bye.